G'day, welcome to my next episode of the String Challenge. Now, I have let it run for a little bit, and I am surprised at how few cities it feels like I have in China from this. You can see that Mongolia has gone wild, giving me what I have to assume are going to be some pretty tiny towns up there. Myanmar has also really gone nice and dense in the amount of cities it's got. Only got one city in the entire west of China. And then you can also see that Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, the stands down here have all given me a few, like a bunch more cities to really flesh that out and mean I can get rid of a few of these long Kazakhstani routes. And then down in here, we've got a few more in Nepal. And continuing over, we've got a few more up here. And then even in Western Europe, we've padded out as well. So we have a whole lot of fixing to do. I actually don't think that it, unlike other times where it's basically given me a whole bunch of cities and then it's gone, I'm done. That's all that I've got to give. I actually do think that there are still more cities to come here. Although it even was giving me a Sri Lankan city down here. So let's start off by joining this guy in. So he seems like he's going to be pretty standalone. See how they do for upgrades, because it looks like we are going to be a little bit of a struggle here. That's how much it's going to think about everything. Alrighty. So I'd say at this point we don't want to worry about China, Myanmar, Mongolia. We're going to fix the rest, and we're going to bring in North Korea as our next country. And let's have a look at what we want to do down here. Now this one's probably pretty easy. We'll get rid of that route there, railing at thousands of people's holiday plans. And we will connect these two. And one thing I was thinking about as well from the last video is I did do our quick facts about China. But one thing that we've got in here is that, according to this world map, Taiwan is part of China as well. So I thought, well, let's learn about Taiwan while we're doing China. Because I'm sure there's always more to learn in the world. Alright, so while we're working on the east, the west, no, this is the east of Europe. So Taiwan, officially the Republic of China, as opposed to the People's Republic of China, which is the big one, is a country in East Asia at the junction of East and South China Seas in the northwestern Pacific Ocean, with the People's Republic of China to the northwest, Japan to the northeast, and the Philippines to the south. That's the plane I'm upgrading there, isn't it? Alright, so it's only that one airport. We upgrade him one more. So we get rid of this one route, and we'll connect these two guys just between that. The main island of Taiwan, also known as Formosa, has an area of 35,000 square kilometers, with the mountain ranges dominating the eastern two-thirds and plains of the western third. Definitely one that I could be interested in visiting at some point. I was looking at flights to Japan, and some of the flights to Japan do go through Taiwan, and I was like, oh, that could be cool. And that's a little debate in its own, which I'll just quickly show once we get Albania sorted out here. Someone's flight's not right there, is it? That guy. That's better. Say better, but we've also broken the entire game as we do it. Population of Taiwan, 23 million. Pretty hefty for the size of the island. Especially if two-thirds of it are dominated by a mountain range. Okay, so we jump out and have a look over here. So, flying to Japan. Flying from here to there. There are direct flights, but there are also flights that would take you, but they're rare, rather. flights that would take you through Singapore and up, which feels like such a sort of jolt out of the way. But you can also fly, there are some flights that go to Taiwan and then up to Japan, and that doesn't feel as out of the way. But I kind of feel like if I did go to Taiwan, I'd want to spend time there. And I already feel limited in the amount of time available to what I want to do while in Japan. So, so maybe it's not the trip for Taiwan. So that is Taiwan. As we move into Bulgaria here, what do we want to do with these cities here? So this guy's a bit out of the way. Almost everyone. I could go from Belgrade up to him and then down. I suppose what we could do is get rid of that route and that route. And then what we'll do is we'll go one. No. Esty? Say that. And out. So at least this way we keep the Romanian cities together. And I thought since we also did one of the complicated regions of China, let's look at the other ones. So also go Hong Kong. So Hong Kong, which its official name is the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China. It's I guess a formal name. It's a city of Special Administrative Region. With 7.5 million residents of various nationalities. Hong Kong is one of the most densely populated places in the world. Hong Kong is also a major global financial center. Now, at one point I was looking at moving to Hong Kong, but it didn't pan out. And looking at that was that it's expensive to live in Hong Kong. I think it's something like 2/3 of your pay would be going to rent. It's an interesting fact of like, I think it was if you have a chart that is the average cost of a house versus the median house versus the median salary. How much more is the house to the salary? So, for example, if the median income was $50,000 and the median house was $50,000 for, say, I don't know, let's say Detroit, then the Detroit would sit at 1 on this chart. Hong Kong is at, I think, 20. And then it seems like the next cities in that line are Sydney, and I think Melbourne's pretty close too. And then certain parts of, say, London, and but as a whole city, on average, Hong Kong sits at 20, which is like in its own league compared to everyone else. Wild. So I think here we want to actually get rid of Bucharest from having that long route. I could see it had 2 planes on it, so good to be getting rid of it. And what we'll do is we'll also still get rid of that route now that we can see it, and we'll go rest into Testy. So then next up in our journey around China, we've got Macau. So Macau is very close to Hong Kong. So if we say the map, so Shenzhen is across the border from Hong Kong. So Hong Kong is right here, and then you'd say Macau is probably about right there, but it was Portuguese owned as opposed to English owned, controlled, rather. I suppose the Chinese always owned them. Where were we? Further. So now we've got him in there. What we can do is these guys down. Yeah, Macau. officially Macau Special Administrative Region of the People's Republic of China. It's a city of China with a population of 680,000. And I believe or the one fact I've heard about it is that it's a big casino city, Macau, and it does multiples of Vegas a day, so a much bigger sort of casino city than Vegas. It's the Vegas of China, essentially. I don't know if that's because there's certain rules about like betting in China that it's allowed to get away with as a special administrative region, and since it sort of became dominant, it's now just sort of like the one famous for it, or what? But got some not all the way upgraded planes down here. Oh, that's because they're sharing the load on a route. Of course. Okay. So then we've got this one more, which will be Tibet. Now, who's in most need of this guy getting connected to him? Let's say this one. Alright, so Tibet is a region of East Asia covering most of the Tibetan Plateau. That may surprise you. Spanning about 2.5 million square kilometers. Traditional homeland of the Tibetan people. Also resident on the plateau are some other ethnic groups that I won't attempt to destroy the pronunciations of their names, but Sherpas is one of them. Obviously with the Sherpas famously being the ones that go up the Everest. If we've got a population count. It is amazing to see that how low the population of Tibet is, and then also to see how large a section of China it is. That the idea that so much of China is so barren while there's so many people there. Though I say barren, it was amazing. We did we took a train, me and a few friends, from Xi'an to Lhasa in Tibet, and the first day of that was just sort of traveling through the countryside of China, sort of mainland China. But then the next morning when you woke up, we were on the plateau, and that was amazing. Getting to see just the animals of the plateau up and about. So sort of animals that looked very African, like I can't think of their names, like the deer-looking guys, but with the spirally sort of straight horns. Where are these two guys going in? I suppose what I need to do is disconnect these two. And then Kiev to Sumi can go across the top. Not sure if I've told this story before, but with when we were on the Tibetan plateau training along, I was just sitting there watching out the window, and I saw what looked like a rock sitting in a mound of dirt, and I thought, why is this? That's really odd. Like it looks so deliberate that someone's put that rock in that mound of dirt. But we're in the middle of nowhere with just a train line going by. Who would have gone to the effort? And then as we got closer, I realized it was it was actually a pika sitting on top of its sort of mound to, I guess, its burrow. At least that's what I think it was. And I was holding my camera, just like it was just sitting on my lap, and I like whipped it up to try and take a picture. But I was just sitting against a window seat, which right behind me was the aisle, because it was a sleeper train. So it was just sort of like the rooms where the beds were, then the aisle, and then just sort of one chair that you could sit next to the window. And so as I raised my camera up to take a photo, I hit my lens into the glass of the window because I was too close to it. So I leant back, but as I was doing this, someone was walking past me, so I leant into someone, and so I sort of stopped to apologize to them. And obviously we're on a train speeding past. I'd missed my moment to get a peek at too many things happened in a very quick period of time. Then I thought, and this is obviously all in a very short period of time based on where we are, I thought those were peekers. And if any, I've learned anything about the Tibetan environment from watching our dear friend and hero David Attenborough. Tibetan foxes hunt peekers. So I wonder, especially at this hour in the morning, if there's a Tibetan fox around. So stay on my toes. And boom, instantly, Tibetan fox. And I grabbed a picture of him, and I was over the moon for the rest of that day, the rest of the week. It was my big hope in going to Tibet, like, very unlikely hope, but well, I mean, I had plenty of hopes of even just getting to see Mount Everest, and that the weather was going to be fine, and that also the Chinese officials were going to let us get into where we wanted to go. But one of the very optimistic hope was that I'd get to see a Tibetan bear or a Tibetan fox, and so getting to tick off one of the two of those was really cool. And if you've never seen him, check him out. A Tibetan fox is a really weird looking unit. He looks like a almost like an anime fox. Like if you try to imagine like Miyazaki doing a fox that has a lot of character in his face, that doesn't say anything and just does that sort of like long pause stare that you get out of some characters in the Miyazaki, mysterious characters in Miyazaki film. That's what they look like. Very cool, guys. Very unique animals. Alright, so that's us through the Ukraine. Now, what we'll do as well is, at this point, we will bring in the Korea. And we can have a quick read about the Koreas. I have read some things about people visiting North Korea, and that sounds wild. The thing that has really stood out for me is that they said that they went and visited a train station, and there were people sort of bustling around in the train station, but it seemed like they weren't actually going anywhere. They were just actors whose job it was to walk back and forth in the train station. It just seems like such a trip of a place to visit. All right, so North Korea. Officially, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Thing seems less democratic than the word "peoples" in any title. It constitutes the northern half of the Korean peninsula, shares borders with China, Russia to the north, and the Yalu and Tumen rivers, and South Korea to the south. At the Korean demilitarized zone would be somewhere cool to go. Now, apparently, if you go to the South Korean side of the demilitarized zone, there are some tours that will let you go into a room that sort of sits halfway between South Korea and North Korea. So basically, that if they ever have want to bargain or anything, they can just go in that room, and it's basically common ground because it's in half in both countries. And the friend who was telling me about this said that they do warn you that when you go in that room, don't knock on the door on the other side, because there are North Korean guards standing on there, and you don't want to get them uppity. Looking at this here, I think that possibly these cities down here need to shift to be connected to this, and then I just go across here. So if that's the case, what happens with this city? I think he stays north. I think we go across one, So sorry, my question there then is, if you went to South Korea and you went into this room and you walked to the other side of the room, do you think you could justifiably say that meant that you had been to North Korea? Or does it not really count? Because I think I'm leaning on the not really count side of that argument. I mean, there's very loose terms on that in any way. I will say of the states that I've been to in the US, I'll say that I've been to Arkansas, but what I did was I was in Memphis, I crossed the bridge into West Memphis and then crossed the bridge back. But I was in Arkansas for those moments I was on the other side of the bridge, right? So I've been to Arkansas. So I mean, for some reason I'm allowing that to count, but I'm not allowing being standing on Korean ground inside of North Korean ground inside of a South Korean building. Or that you walked into from South Korea. I don't know. That's a debate, that one. Okay, let's upgrade these guys along here. Population of North Korea is 25 million. And let's have a look at their southern brothers. So South Korea is officially the Republic of Korea. Obviously it's the southern part of the Korean peninsula. Its western border is formed by the Yellow Sea, while its eastern border is defined by the Sea of Japan. South Korea claims to be the sole legitimate government of the entire peninsula and adjacent islands. It has a population of 51 million, which roughly half live in Seoul. It is the fourth most populous metropolitan area in the world. That's another one that I've sort of looked at. I'm not sure if I've said this before, that sometimes consider or look at a holiday to South Korea, but I'm just not sure what you would do with a child there. What's the what would be fun for kids to do in Korea, or is that a trip that I would wait till my daughter is older to go and enjoy? I think I have pondered that before. I'll continue to ponder it. Just think we get rid of that one. And we get rid of that one too. So we jump across here. I do hope that I get more Chinese cities here. I reckon that country's got way more filling out to do. I've looked at a map of China before. I know there's more cities than what they're showing me. By the way, I was playing the different daily challenges, and one of the challenges that I've got coming out was so I did film it, so there will be a video. Was that you have to connect the 50 largest, the largest population city of all 50 states of America, and that video, those obviously include Honolulu and Anchorage, which I thought was interesting because I've obviously never gotten anything in Hawaii or Alaska here, but that obviously suggests that they are set up to exist on the map, so bring them on. So what we'll do is, as we basically just continue to progress along, Do we need to bring... Nah, I think we might just leave it as the 2 countries in today. We're not going to get to them anyway. We may as well just let them need to fill out with cities and... But it does mean that with the Koreas in there, it's only Japan to go before we look at Russia. And we completely destroy the game being able to move with the amount of Russian cities that we're no doubt going to get in here. But I don't really want to bring in Russia until I have successfully connected the majority of these. Like, I don't want to... Let me think about what's the best connection route for here. What do we got up here? Let's zoom out a little bit and have a look. So we want to get rid of that and that. I mean, definitely that one's going. So I think possibly what we do is we get rid of that. We've also got these 2 cities here. Let's connect these 2 and those 2. That's just permanently unhappy, understandably. There's 200 people wanting to go to New York, stuck in the middle of one country that I constantly struggle to pronounce. Tajikistan. Let's get these guys connected, joined, and them upgraded. It's already upgraded. So was that the new one there? Yeah, he's the new one. So then what I think is that we go from here back. Now that seems like that route's longer than it needs to be, but it really doesn't matter because all the routes that are going to be next to it are going to be even longer. So what we'll do is he can just bounce up to that guy. This guy bounced down. This route's longer than if we just connected this guy down the bottom here, but basically we want to get across to here. So we're using him as just a stepping stone to get there. So he'll go across there. And then a logical little few hops up there. Now again, this guy's closer to this, but I mean the difference between this guy having to hop up there or across here is pretty incidental, so we may as well go for just having the Kazakhstan cities connected together. Alright, that's them in, and then we go up and across. So we'll get rid of this route. We'll hop him up that way. And get rid of that route. Now this whole section could get redone again depending on what sort of Russian cities we've got meeting the border of Kazakhstan. I'm pretty sure that Kazakhstan and Russia are still pretty chummy. So still, um, as in not necessarily with what Russia's currently doing, but as in recent history when they would have been building cities. I assume that there are cities on both the Kazakhstani side of the Russian border and the Russian side of the Kazakhstan border. So that's a sudden jump. Alright, they're all upgraded. So from here we want to go to this guy. And we'll get rid of that route. Connect these two. Then swing down. Get rid of that route. And let's just knock these guys. I think, is that going to last? I think that could last, so we'll get rid of that one. Up. What do we do here? We could go to him and then back and then up that way. We could just run straight up. I think if we connected this guy to here, I don't think that it's going to make that route much shorter, so there's no point in really doing it. Also, we haven't upgraded any of these guys, so let's just backtrack for a moment. It's all set. Upgraded. There. And should sort out the north of Kazakhstan. Here another city come in, assumably somewhere in Korea. Alright, so here's actually another thing that we need to address before we continue south. Is we've got this. Now you can see where China is and where our Chinese cities go. That we could connect Mongolia to China, or we could connect Mongolia to Kazakhstan. I suppose the question is going to be, where's this guy going to be better suited? It feels like he's going to have to connect into and back into Mongolia anyway. So I feel like we don't want to go into Mongolia from Kazakhstan. I think we want to we'll work our way down, and then we'll just bounce from Beijing up, and then that sort of sweeping line of cities up here will get Mongolia to connect to the top end of. Still, surely there's going to be more Chinese cities than that to come, right? Surely. But Mongolia. Each one of those cities probably has a population bigger than the entirety of Mongolia. Alright, and with these two connections, get rid of that one. And let's get rid of that one. that's Kazakhstan done. Just upgrade their planes. Actually, that guy's already good. And this guy's good. And then these guys will just go a... We'll zoom in to make this a little bit clearer. Go that way. Slowly, slowly. There we go. So, got that set of the stands connected, and then it won't be down till Nepal is our next stuff we got to work out. But let's get these Christmas lights a bit clearer. Solid green. Temporarily, at least. I'll get to a more permanent red soon enough, I'd say. That guy's already set. And there we go. They're more connected in. As we then have to move along in the world. Just want to double check too to make sure Tanzania didn't get any new cities. It didn't. And it will be into the east even further as we come back next time. There we go. Our new countries of the 2 Koreas. Any questions or comments, feel free to chuck them below. And until next time, catch you later. See ya.